Hey guys, this is Ed, Paul, and Anna of Current Brand Media, and we are here to tell you a little bit more about our sponsor.
Sportsball is a great subscription service geared towards minor league baseball fans. Each box features a different minor league team.
You get a box every 3 months with minor league baseball gear, including different styles of hats like Ed's favorite, the dad hat. The cost is less than $12 a month.
Proceeds from each box goes to More Than Baseball, the only nonprofit dedicated to the well-being of minor league baseball players.
We all know that Parents' Days are coming up this summer, so if you've got a mom or a dad or a grandma or a grandpa who are particularly difficult to buy for, but you know they're baseball fans, this is the answer, guys.
Meet your new favorite team at sportsballbox.com.
Is there anybody
Her and her father have played catch with it. Grandpa and her son have played catch with it and everything like that. So now you've got three generations of that family using that glove and playing catch with it.
What's up, Dad Hat Crew? Ed here of the Dad Hat Chronicles, and thank you for joining me in part one of this two-part episode with Mark. You guys know him as Minor League Mark. He restores a lot of baseball gloves, old, new, you name it, relaces them, all that fun stuff. We talked about his love for all Cleveland sports, specifically our Guardians, and then we also talked about how he got started doing all these restorations, the story behind it. Everybody has a story. So Mark was gracious enough to give us his story. So guys, without further ado, I'll give you the episode. All right. Well, I want to welcome you guys to yet another episode of the Dad Hat Chronicles. My name is Ed, and with me, I have my good friend Mark. A lot of people know him as Minor League Mark. We are going to talk about all things baseball. We're going to talk about restoring baseball gloves. So, you know what? Sit back and enjoy this, guys. I'm so excited for this. We're going to talk about the gloves that he restored for me. So, Mark, the first thing I ask everybody, my friend, how did you become a fan of this beautiful sport that we call baseball?
I grew up in the mid 70s, late 70s, early 80s, a time when you wanted to entertain yourself. You were outside. You had to play outside. We didn't have video games. We didn't have cable television until I was a teenager. So you had 4 channels of TV and there wasn't much on. So any chance you got, you, your friends, your brothers, anybody in the neighborhood, you were outside playing, and all of us, we played some sort of baseball, whether it was wiffle ball in the backyard, whether we took our gloves and our bats and we went up to the playground and played on the diamond up there. So it's always been something that I've enjoyed, and it's just something that we always did. That was what our neighborhood and all of my friends and brothers, any chance we got, we were playing baseball. We played organized baseball too. I was in Little League. I did play high school, but just the idea of playing with your friends, that's how I began my love affair with this game.
It's true. I mean, I didn't grow up in the States. Mine was like 80s and 90s, right? And same thing. We had some video games, but it's not like the way it is now, right? I was always outside with our bikes or playing, and it's like you come home when the street lights come on. That's when you can come home.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how it was. We played baseball. We played all sports, football, basketball, whatever sport it was outdoors, and it was the time of my life, my friend.
Oh, absolutely. And you just mentioned riding your bikes, and that's exactly what we do. You'd take the bat, loop it on your handlebar. You'd have your glove on the handlebar. And again, you 10 or 12 friends would go up somewhere and you'd play ghost runners if you didn't have enough men, all that good fun stuff. Like I said, that just because that's what you had to do to entertain yourself, and your parents didn't want you in the house.
Right.
The house. So again, a completely different era, and one that is just floods memories when I think about all my friends and my brothers and all that good stuff when we were outside all the time.
So we were just talking before we started recording that we both are, you and me, are both Cleveland, Guardians, your Cleveland sports fans, right?
Absolutely. All sports Cleveland. Yes,
exactly. Right. All sports, Cavaliers, the Browns, the Guardians, listen, I'm even a Monsters, the Cleveland Monsters hockey team. I'm a fan of them as well. So we're all fans of those sports. And you were about to say, tell me the story, but I was like, all right, let's hear the story now that we're recording, because I want people to hear this.
Yeah, so I am not from Cleveland. I'm about 4 hours east. I'm about an hour east of Buffalo, near Rochester, New York. The town is actually called Hilton. So, yeah, I'm about a 4-hour drive away from the Cleveland area. And I became a fan when in the mid to late 70s, my dad, on a regular basis, used to travel to Twinsburg, which is just outside of Cleveland, Ohio, about 20 minutes, half hour south of the city there. He did business with a couple of the factories that were in that area. And in the summertime, my son and my brothers were always invited to come along for that 2 or 3 day trip while he was there. And the people he were meeting with had seats, had tickets to the Indians at the old Municipal Stadium, although you can get any tickets you wanted back in those days because 10,000 people might have been in that 74,000 seat stadium.
True story.
But we were treated to the box seats when we were treated to hot dogs and popcorn and, all those good things that, the businessmen wanted to make sure the family was happy. So at least 2 or 3 times every summer, we'd get to tag along with my dad on that trip. And that just cemented my fandom in Cleveland baseball. Municipal Stadium, as big as it was and as empty as it was.
And as a dump as it was.
Yeah. I mean, it had its beauty too. It was
absolutely. Old school ballparks have their own beauty
exactly.
to it.
But it was certainly, if you want to call it the name, the mistake by the lake. It was too big for a baseball stadium. But it did. It drew me as a fan. And it's something that stuck with me. When I became old enough to drive there on my own when I was 17, 18 years old, I'd go there with 2 or 3 of my friends. We'd catch some weekend games. And I've done that ever since, up until the point where now I try to make 20 to 25 games a year. Almost every other weekend, I try to make a plan to get to Cleveland, take my sons. I got a good friend who's a Cleveland fan here in Rochester. We'll take a road trip there. I've been a little on the light side so far this year, but I'm going to make it up here in August and September. I've got almost every weekend planned. So I'll get just a little shy of 20 games this year. I think 15 to 16 is what I'll actually hit. But I still travel there. My wife loves going on the trips with me, and it never gets tiring. It never gets old. People ask, God, don't you ever get bored driving that same 4-hour trip all the time? I'm like, absolutely not. I've got great friends there. I've made so many great connections with people. And again, they're not just friends through Twitter or through baseball. These are people that have become near and dear to me, and they are true friends to me. That I try to meet up with them. I try to meet them at a game, and we're more than just baseball friends. We are true friends in life now. And it's a great connection. And like I said, the city has adopted me and accepted me as one of them because, it's Cleveland against the world, as you know.
Yeah, hey, go ahead. Say it.
And they have taken me in and said, you're one of us. So,
right. Hey, listen, it is Cleveland against the world. And you know what? Cleveland is a very underrated city, right? A lot of people give it a lot of slack, but that is actually a really nice city. It's right. Beautiful. It has come a long way.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely come a long way. When I went there in the 70s or 80s, you went to the game at Municipal Stadium and you got the heck out of there. You went to your hotel in the
yeah.
You went to wherever you had to go. There just wasn't anything for you. The revival came in the 90s with those great teams, and we had plenty of restaurants down by the flats and up by the area that they were starting to develop for Jacobs Field and the Q Arena and all that good stuff. But it was still, not as what it is now. Now the theater district and the warehouse district and the arena district, all those things, they're hopping. It's pedestrian friendly. It's family friendly. There's plenty of times where you can walk on East 9th Street and Ontario Street and Carnegie, and moms and dads pushing their kids on the stroller. There's playgrounds for them in the public square.
And East 4th is a beautiful area right there by the ballpark.
Absolutely. I mean, if you can't have fun and enjoy that pedestrian friendly area there, I don't know what more you could possibly want. And it's a 2-minute walk from the stadium. So absolutely. It's, like I said, very pedestrian friendly and just very people friendly city. And I like to describe Cleveland as a small city that feels big.
Yeah.
Because, it's certainly not like New York or Los Angeles or Chicago where you couldn't possibly walk from one side of the city to the other today, but you can walk from, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Brown Stadium to the, new Progressive Field in less than 10 minutes, and plenty of things to see and do and eat and grab a drink along the way and enjoy yourself. So like I said, it's come a long way. And I'm so happy to see all the activity of all the people down there, because it used to be a ghost town, and people.
Still in the early 90s, it was a ghost town. I remember, right? Like after 7 o'clock, that place died.
Absolutely. And people who knock it are people who are still thinking of that city that the river caught on fire back in 1969.
Which was only a small part, guys. It was not the whole river. So let's get that straight. It was only a small section of the river that caught fire.
Yeah, well, and no part of a river should catch on fire. But again, it was just
true story, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I said, so if you've never been there, go there for a weekend, and you will find exactly what I found: a very warm, welcoming people. And even if you wearing the opposite team's jerseys, people are going to talk to you. Where are you from? Are you visiting from New York? Are you here from Chicago, or wherever you're visiting from? The fans are very knowledgeable. They're very friendly, and they're happy to talk to you. So.
And I'll give that to Cleveland fans all day long. They know their sports, right? They know their sports. I mean, especially football, right? But because it's Brownstown's first, and then after that is the other sports. But they know their sports. They know their 90s. They know their history. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So. But you're in Rochester, right? Home of the Rochester Red Wings,
Correct.
Minor league team. And then, but New York, it's either, Yankees or Mets, and you didn't become a fan of any of those teams.
No, I didn't. And, there's a funny thing too. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Yankees, even though I am 6 hours away from New York City, I'm closer to Cleveland than I am to there. Geographically, I'm closer to Toronto. That's about a 2.5 hour drive. Cleveland is the closest United States-based team to me. But on all the cable channels here, it's Yankees and Mets.
Yep.
And that's just like any other part of the country. There's a ton of Red Sox fans. There's a ton of Dodgers fans. There's, your big name market teams. So I am really kind of a anomaly to be in Rochester and be a Cleveland fan. So when people see me wearing their hat and everything like that, I'll take some good-natured ribbing, but I'll also say, how did you become a Cleveland fan? And well, there's the story. My dad, introduced me to that city, and the people that were friendly to him and friendly to his family when we went there, they won over my hearts. And again, just seeing a Major League Baseball game for the first time as a 8-9-year-old kid,
it's something magical about it, right? Like, going to your
yeah.
first Major League ball game as a kid, it's just something about it, just so much fun. And it's like you're seeing, like, you look at these cathedral ballpark, when you're that young.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rochester is AAA for many, many years. We were the farm team for the Baltimore Orioles. And back in the days, I mean, when Baltimore was those prime teams in the late 70s and 80s, all of those prospects came through here. I mean, Dennis Martinez and Cal Ripken, Brian Roberts, Brady Anderson. The list goes on and on. There's too many names I could possibly mention, but all of them played not just a little bit here. They developed for 1 or 2 seasons. So I got to see that. So there's a lot of Orioles fans here too in Rochester. We were with the Twins for the longest time, from 97 until 2020. And then when the shakeup happened there last year, now we're with the Washington Nationals. But as a kid, going to those AAA games, you might see 4,000 or 5,000 people there a night. On a good summer night, might have doubled to 8,000. All right, so we made a joke before when I was a kid. There might have been 10,000 or 12,000 people there at the Indians games at Municipal Stadium. But again, that stadium is huge. You walked in, it's a cathedral. It's an experience. The grass, everything around it just was magic. And
well, it was meant to be a football, a stadium, right? Like, it was for the Browns.
I mean, the original idea of that stadium, it was designed to be used for the 1948 Olympics. They were trying to make a bid for that, and that was an arena that could do the parades, track and field, and then then it was for football, absolutely. And then it became a shared stadium for both football and baseball. But that is a round stadium that they're trying to put a diamond in, and
that doesn't work out that well.
They had the temporary blue fence out there that they put there. But if you ever watched an Indians game back in the 80s. It's like watching an Oakland game that you'd see the hash marks, you'd see the 50-yard line and all that fun stuff.
But there's something cool about it, though, right? Like, I mean,
that's a cool feature too. Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, and I love it. And I'm glad that I'm talking to another Cleveland fan, because we get a lot of slack, right? Like, oh, we're the AAA, quadruple A in the majors, right? It's just another team. But you know what, though? It is what it is, just because of the owner. Let's not talk about that, because we're talking about fun stuff here today.
I'll just say one last thing about Cleveland, and Terry Francona has always said this: you play with the team you got, not with the team you want. And these guys are performing. They're fun, exciting.
Oh my God, isn't it fun?
They're in first place right now. Can they hold on and make the playoffs? They're not built, I don't think, to win the World Series this year, but who knows what can happen. But there's excitement. over the next couple of years, because these guys are young, controllable, and they're going to just gel even better together.
And I'll give that to, Antonetti and Chernoff and all that, right? Like they get players that are controllable for multiple years, right? They have control over that. So like the majority of that team is already controlled through 2026 or 2027. So
Absolutely.
that's a long time, right? Of control. They're a very young team, youngest team in the league. But the key thing that you will say there is Francona. That guy knows how to manage. I was wrong about him. I was like, maybe he's getting a little too old for it. I was wrong. I'll eat that. I'll fully accept that.
Yeah. Still one of the best in the game, no doubt about it.
Yep. So one of my prized possessions is Terry Francona sign a picture that I have here. So
very cool.
Yep. Exactly. So, all right, let's talk about this because the way that we connected and everything was obviously through our mutual friend Anna of the Baseball Bucket, because you yourself are obviously a baseball parent, but you restore gloves, not just old gloves, new gloves, but like all kinds of gloves.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's my unique connection to the game. My shop is called This Old Glove. And one thing that I do and love more than anything is to find old baseball gloves and make them look new again. Mm-hmm. Yes, I do just some simple repairs. Yes, I can relace a glove and, make a modern glove, put, if somebody wants blue lace in there versus the brown that came with it, yeah, sure, I can do that. But the real passion is what's behind me, is trying to find those 1930s to 1970s styles gloves that the leather was just artistry, is what's in them. And if you take care of them, or if you restore them properly, they're going to last another 100 years. So that's what I really, really love to do, is I try to find those 30s to 70s style gloves, make them look new, restore them. And when I say restore them, I don't just oil them and put new lace in. I get into all the detail work on them. I will look over that glove with a fine tooth comb, try to find any kind of markings that are on that glove, any kind of signature that a player might have endorsed, any kind of serial number that was on there. And then once I find them, ink them properly, seal them in properly, and then do all the finish work on them. So that person doesn't just have a new looking glove. They can see what that glove looked like 60, 70 years ago. They know that, oh my God, I didn't even know this was endorsed by Lou Gehrig. I didn't know this had a Cal Ripken signature, or whatever it might be on there, because it's so time worn that they forgot, or they didn't from playing with it, which you should do. It's knocked it away. So that's my real passion, is just finding all of the details in those gloves, and then doing a little research in history and finding out, okay, when was this glove made? Who made it? Where in the country was it made? And all those fun details, and sharing that with the customer to let them know, here's what you've got. Maybe you didn't know this about your glove. Maybe you didn't know this about your grandfather's glove, whoever it is you found there. So it's more than just putting new lace in and, putting some glove conditioner on. It's really getting into the details and making those gloves look, I like to call them vintage new. I can't make them look brand new, but I can make them look.
But you don't want to make them look brand new, though. That's the whole beauty of it.
They should have some flaw. They should have some characteristics to it, because at one time they were played with and enjoyed, and like the one you've got there, you're having fun with yours now.
I'm having fun with them. Trust me.
Yeah, and that's what I really want is, if people want them to make them into decorations behind them, okay, that's great. But I tell everybody, when I'm done with this, take it outside, play catch with it, hear that sound, get that feel that you forgot that you have, or maybe you've never experienced a 1950s glove before. It's like, how did they ever play with something like this? And it's a different way of catching the ball in those gloves than the ones made today, which are much longer and bigger, and I don't want to say easier, just it's a different style of glove. So
it's a different glove, because they're so athletes today are a different kind of breed. Let's be honest about that, right? Like the acrobatics and everything that they do is insane. No, but you're right, though. It took a special kind of person to catch with something like this, right? Like something like this 19. This is the 41 glove that I have on right now, right?
Yeah, look at that. It's got no laces between the fingers, so it's five separate fingers. And it's like something you see Charlie Brown using in those old cartoons. Like that. And the old expression with that glove, use two hands to catch the ball, something like that. It takes a little while. You want to get it in the palm and then use two hands to make sure that ball don't pop out. So
And trust me, I did. I was, as soon as I got them and I came out and I showed my wife and I said, okay, honey, let's go outside. Let's go play with this. Cause I cannot, it's so much fun. So, yeah.
Yeah. And again, if you've never played catch with them before, something again, your first time, it is. It's a lot of fun. It's like a kid with a new toy, basically. And that's how I feel when I get these gloves. And same thing with you right there. You're a kid with a new toy to play with and enjoy. So
I've been playing with this. Like I always, I was telling you before we were recording is that this is the same test that I use for work. And when I'm calling, making my calls and talking to people and all that, I still got my glove on. I play with my baseball, and sometimes I'll hear that sound, that pop, right? It's just, they hear that. Why? Because I'm playing with the glove while I'm talking to them.
That's fantastic. That's great.
So how did you get into that though? Tell me, did you just decide that one day you're like, you know what? I'm going to just restore gloves.
So as a kid, anytime we went shopping somewhere, anytime we went to any kind of department store, if I was with my dad, we went to the hardware store. If there's any place that had a section of sporting goods, the first thing I would ask mom or dad, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to go look at the bats and the balls and everything like that. Okay, stay with your brother, but go ahead. It's okay to look over there. Right. I've always been enamored going to any kind of store that's got sporting goods and seeing that wall of gloves, that rack of bats. And I remember as a kid just being kind of mesmerized by that. And again, going back to, how we started here, I grew up with nothing playing baseball and everything like that. So I had 3 or 4 gloves myself over the years. From as I grew, you had to get a different style of glove. As I went from a catcher to outfield, you needed a different glove for that. And infield to outfield, you need a different glove as a second baseman as you do a right fielder.
Or first baseman, stuff like that.
Always shopping and looking for gloves. But about 15 years ago, I was helping my parents move some things around in their basement. And I was looking for one of my original gloves, like one of the gloves that I think I had in T-ball or junior league. I had all my other ones, but I knew it was in my parents' house somewhere. It was either stored in a box somewhere. So when it was time to clean up some things, I finally found this old canvas bag that my dad used when he was the coach of our little league team. And in that bag had some old Louisville Slugger bats. And then there were 3 or 4 old gloves in there. One of them was mine. It was dried out. The other gloves in there had a little mildew on it. And my dad, just throw that junk out. That's no good. That stuff's been sitting down here for almost 40 years now. Just throw that junk out. I was like, I'm pretty sure you can re-oil these. I'm pretty sure you can, no, that stuff's no good. Throw it out. I said, I'm taking it home with me. Go ahead, get it out of my basement. So,
okay, I will.
Yeah. So no argument there. So I brought all those things home, and, I just started kind of playing around. I didn't really do any research, but I just said, all right, I remember as a kid putting glove oil, and good old fashioned Glovoleum was the brand name that Rawlings used. Mm-hmm. And I went out and bought some of that and put it on my glove, and it was okay. I was like, I bet there's a better method than this. So just starting, to read, about different types of leather and different types of care, trial and error. I finally started coming up with my own method for doing that. And then once I got comfortable with conditioning the glove, I was like, all right, let's pull these old laces out and let's put some new laces in, because if I really want to use this, I made the glove look good, but these laces, if I throw a ball in it, it's going to split and it's going to whack me right in the face. So I need to restring the whole glove. And that was a learning process there, because every glove has got a different pattern. Every glove has got different types of lace, different size. So that was something, again, I had to learn to do. And there's a couple of videos out there, but I really was, again, just trial and error. Or in my case, when I would get a glove, whatever you do, you don't pull all the lace out first and then try to string it back up, because you'll never be able to remember the pattern, even though you think, oh, it's so easy. So what I started doing is pulling it out stitch by stitch, so as I pulled one out, I put the new one in, pulled the old one out and put the new one in. And, all said and done, 2 days later, I finally had my one little league glove all stitched up. Now I can do that same glove almost by memory in less than 2 hours. So like I said, I've got the patterns memorized. I can look at just about any glove right now and say, all right, I know exactly how to start, where to finish on this. And then we go from there. Now, when you find anything old, there's nothing perfect in this world. You're always going to run into a snag. You're always going to run into something funky. And it's like, okay, what's the plan B on this if something goes wrong in this? And now let's get to one of your gloves. So you gave me 2 gloves. You gave 1941, which was made by Draper and Maynard. And then you gave me that beautiful Rawlings glove. Now, when I first got those, I was like, oh, this Rawlings glove, it's going to be easy. It's going to be beautiful. The Draper and Maynard is going to be the more challenging one. Now, even though that one needed more repair, and that one, it actually cleaned up nicer.
Yeah.
The ink that I put in there took very nicely. And then, I put those 2 pieces on the web for you right there to make that repair so you can catch the ball in the web properly. That ended up being a little easier glove.
Of course it was.
And I thought that was going to be the more challenging one. Now, the Rawlings one cleaned up beautiful. The color came out beautiful. It flexed nicely. But that one, the ink in that one, it's a special type of like polyurethane oil ink that I use to get into all those markings, to get the Rawlings, to get the signature. Every time I put the ink in there, I'd come back an hour or so. Excuse me, that's a Wilson, not a Rawlings. I'm sorry, that's a Wilson glove. Yes. Every time I'd come back, it was almost like the ink vanished and disappeared. I'm like, what the heck happened? And I've had that happen once or twice before, but I was like, it's very rare. It usually absorbs into the leather really nicely. I mean, after I do the cleaning process, after I do everything like that, it's usually the ink is my favorite part. It's very meticulous and time consuming, but it's my favorite because it's like, this is what's really going to make this pop. This detail work right now is the icing on the top right here.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I got stumped on this one. I was like, it's not working. So in that case, you got to go to, like I said, a plan B or a plan C. So actually in your glove right there is Chevy Silverado Midnight Black touch-up paint.
No way.
So yeah, it's not something I normally use, but that's a little bit tougher, almost like an enamel. Because think about it, if you have to touch up your car and you're going to take it to the car wash, you need something tough and durable.
That's awesome.
So that is, like I said, Chevy Silverado Midnight Black. With a very fine brush into all the detail work. It bonded, it dried. I put 2 coats of that on there after trying something, after using the usual stuff that I use. Like I said, I usually use a polyurethane. It's almost like a marker what I use, but it's not. It kind of looks like a Sharpie, but it's not.
Yeah.
That didn't work. And like I said, 90% of the time it does. So this time I had to switch to something else, and it worked.
It worked.
Beautiful. It dried properly, and it's going to be Chevy tough for you. All right.
Oh yeah, it ain't going nowhere.
No,
American made.
That is permanent. So like I said, so there's always something, different. Every time I get a glove, there's always going to be maybe that one little challenge that I was like, all right, what do we do here? So,
but that's the beauty of it though, right? I'm guessing that's like, that's the best part about it is figuring out a puzzle. Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're just doing the same thing over and over. And sure, that gets, I don't want to say ever gets tedious because, I can do 10 of these a day and never get bored doing that. But when I get something like that, I was like, okay, now we've got a challenge. Now we've got something, that we got to come up with, like I said, that's that plan B for here, or sometimes even a plan C in place right there. And that's exactly what I did there. And, it couldn't have made me happier to come up with a solution on that one. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. So
now, do you get a lot of requests to get, like someone like me will say, hey, I have this glove. Do you think you can do something with it? Restore it back live. Do you get a lot of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure we'll touch on that later, but I do have a shop on Etsy.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do. Gloves. But yeah, I also offer the service of, again, restoring the glove right there. People can reach out. I've had people reach out to me on Twitter. I always post before and after pictures of every project beautiful. I do. I've got I've got well over 1,000 pictures of all the gloves start to finish. What it looked like before and what it looks like finished. And I always post them, and that's drawn a lot of people on Twitter. Just comments like, I can't believe that's the same glove. It's absolutely beautiful how that was just 5 days ago. Now it looks like this. Then people, a week later, hey, I found my old glove. What do you think? I said, well, send me, in a DM or in an email. Let's get a couple more pictures. I need a little more detail work and everything like that. And they'll send me some pictures. We get chatting twice now. As I've gone to Cleveland, people there have said, hey, instead of me mailing it, what do you say we meet up somewhere and I'll bring the glove? So, and these are people I've never met before. And again, so now we get back to, now I've got not only a customer, but I've got a great friend that I picked up the glove, brought it home with me. 2 weeks later, when I'm going back to a game, hey, let's meet up again at that, that restaurant again, and I'll bring the glove with you. And so, yeah, I'll do that. But no, people can also mail it to me. Like me and you did, we just put it in a box, put it in an envelope, put it in a package, and ship it off to each other. 2-3 days later, it shows up at my door. I let everybody know I've got it. I'm going to start working on it. And then, I ask the questions back to people, or just say, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And most people were just like you. Use your imagination, just do the best job you can. And whatever you say is what you want out of it.
You're the expert. You're the expert. I'm
exactly.
just exactly. The only thing that we had a really discussion was right here on this. It was some lettering, and your ass was like, hey, do you want to keep that? Is that something that me? So I'm like, absolutely nothing. Go for it. Right.
Yeah. So on your glove right there, exactly. The web right there. You had, I can't remember the name, but you had writing all over that wrist part of the glove right there.
Yep.
And if that was a family connection, or if that was yours as a kid, I would have asked, hey, do you want to keep that? B, do you want me to rub that out and try to keep the original color? Now, when you rub out ink that's been in a glove for 40, 50, 60 years, it can damage the leather and it might not match the rest of it. So in the case of yours, the best thing that I found was, let's just change it. Let's not try to make it brown. Let's do a contrasting color that would still be appropriate. So in that one right there, we did that antique black dye on the wrist. And then the two pieces on the web are also dyed that antique black. So that made a nice complement. And then I put the black laces in there too. So it looks about as original as it could be. And we did that, like I said, kind of a cosmetic makeover on that wrist to get rid of it. So, and again, some people want to keep the family name on there. I mean, I just did a job for a very, very good friend recently, and her dad's name was written in it. I said, what would you like? Would you like? And the name had faded over time. Her father just wrote his name on the pinky area and in the palm area. And she says, oh, just leave it be. And then she said, do you think you could make it darker? I said, absolutely. It's the same as what I do with all the other things. I said, so yeah, if you'd like me to put some ink over the top of it. And all said and done, it looked like a brand new glove that he just put his name on 2 days ago. So, and she was absolutely thrilled with it. Her and her father have played catch with it. Grandpa and her son have played catch with it and everything like that. So now you've got 3 generations of that family using that glove and playing catch with it. And I also customized a glove for her as well, because she was telling me a story how her son just started playing Little League this year, and just every night, can we play catch? Can we play catch? And she didn't have her own glove. I said, I'm making a glove for you. So I had some old gloves around here, which didn't have any sentimental value. I said, I'm going to make a glove for you. I'm going to fix one up. That way you and your son can play. So that just was something that was my pleasure to do, because I wanted to see that next generation, that 8-year-old, the mom and grandpa all playing catch together. And they sent me some beautiful pictures of that. And it was all well worth it for that right there.
Listen, you can't make me cry on my own podcast, man. Come on now. That's awesome.
Baseball, I don't care what you say, Tom Hanks. Baseball will make you cry. Okay.
It sure can. It sure can. And it reminds me, it's like, I bought my daughter her glove and everything, and I love it. We recorded it just because I wanted to keep it for as a, keepsake, and, of me playing catch with, my daughter. And it's like, there's nothing better in the world. That feeling that you get when you're playing catch with your own kid. It's just pure magic. I hope you guys enjoy that episode with Mark. Stay tuned for part 2, okay? We're on part 2. We are going to talk about how to break down a brand new glove, some of the cleaning solutions out there that can help you restore and keep your glove up to date, and make sure that it is nice and good for you to be using it out there, just like I am, and just like I did with some of the gloves and some of the things that he suggested. Before I go, you guys already know, make sure you guys are subscribed to the episode and the podcast. That way you guys are always in the know when a new episode drops. Give it 5 stars. What a 5-star does is it helps me go up on the rankings, so that way more people are able to find this podcast. But as you guys already know, I got to give you the dad joke of the episode, and here it is. Where do you keep your mitt while driving? In the glove compartment. All right, I'll see myself out. And until then, guys, keep on grinding and always support the minor leagues. See ya.
This podcast is part of the Curved Brim Media Network. Here are some of the other members of Curved Brim Media.
Hi, this is Ed Rivera of the Dad Hat Chronicles. Join me as I interview people just like you and players, coaches, GMs on the path that led you to become a fan of the sport.
I'm Paul Caputo, and on the Baseball by Design podcast, I talk to minor league baseball teams, designers, and other super interesting people about what these minor league baseball logos mean, and I talk a little bit about ice cream helmets.
What's up, Bucketheads? I'm Anna DiTomaso, and each week on the Baseball Bucket List podcast, I speak with a different fan about their favorite baseball memories, what the game means to them, and what's left to check off on their baseball bucket list.
Hey guys, this is Patrick Larson from the Minor League Baseball Hat History Series, and in every episode I go through the history of minor league teams through my personal collection of hats. You can find me on Twitter at PatLarson1. I hope you guys enjoy.
This is Patrick
and Corey
of BaseballMapper.com, and we have made an interactive map to help highlight all baseball teams from the majors down to collegiate summer leagues.
We want to bring you closer to baseball. So get on the site and find a team near you today.
Learn more about Curved Brim Media at curvedbrimmedia.com.